Welcome, everybody, to the Hardwood Hoops Hangout. We had a little bit of technical difficulty with the previous broadcast, so we're starting it back over. Again, it's Pete Toll and my man Meek Mill, 1981. We're going to roll through our kind of recap of the games we've watched, some of the upsets in the NCAA tournament, preview the Spurs and Warriors game at 8:30 tonight on ABC Primetime. Then we're going to talk about a couple other things in the NBA as far as the playoff race, the Warriors trying to break the record of 72 wins set by the Chicago Bulls, and a little bit of a melee that could have been worse with the Grizzlies and Bucks the other night. So, Meek, I want you to roll back through kind of your surprise for the NCAA tournament and just tell our viewers some other games that kind of caught your eye.
Well, I think I speak for everybody when I say the big surprise is definitely Michigan State going down, as most of us probably had them in our Final Four, or like me, had them as the NCAA champion. And if you picked against Michigan State, you're a liar or you're a Middle Tennessee fan, because no way people pick them to lose. There are those random people who pick, but that was a big shocker. I know a couple 11 seeds won. Wichita State got the win on Thursday, and then Gonzaga. But those weren't. I picked both of them, but I think those were pretty easy picks. Another one, though, I would say, like, everything was yesterday. Hawaii getting a win.
Yeah.
Little Rock downing Purdue, Yale. This could be the year. And if I'm not was George Mason a double-digit seed when they made it to the Final Four? I think they were like a 9. I could be wrong.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but this could be the year that we see a double-digit seed in the Final Four. There's just so much parity now, I think. Like last year, and I was listening to JJ Redick's podcast. He had Chris Collins on, and Chris Collins was saying that last year you knew Duke, you knew Wisconsin, you knew Kentucky were all going to be in the Final Four. They were hands down above everybody else. But this year, like, anybody can take it. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if like a 9 seed won the championship this year. There's just so much parity in college basketball. And I think, and maybe this going to the end, I'm thinking, even though with all the one and dones, I think it's helping the game. Because now what's happening is these power schools, or the so-called power schools, they get all the top players, where these mid-major schools are getting guys that are staying for 4 years. They're getting that experience, and they're not scared of these big schools anymore. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit I had a couple. Now, of course, I did 4 brackets, so I have to admit that first. Anybody that says that they've only done 1 bracket and got a lot of these picks is full of crap. But nobody had Michigan State losing to a 15 seed. I don't think any in the history of the tournament, a pretty much given Final Four participant has been upset before by a 15 seed. I don't think it's ever happened. Basically in one of the brackets I've had Northern Iowa pulling an upset. I was just trying to pick some different games that I thought would be different. Stephen F. Austin, I did not have them beating West Virginia. I thought personally that West Virginia would go to the Elite Eight, but it didn't happen. So you're right. The parity there, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch. I'm rooting tonight for basically my hometown team, St. Joseph's, to upset Oregon because selfishly I want Duke to go ahead and make that Final Four appearance, but we'll see what happens with it. Pretty much in a couple brackets I had Michigan State win in, and it didn't work out for me, so no millionaire here. So
I don't think you're going to get any millionaires this tournament because just all the I imagine if not one single top 3 seed gets to the Final Four, which I guess is possible.
Yeah, it's true.
crazy.
It could be.
Yeah, and I was hoping, like, we got to touch on, even though they got a blowout win, but I was really hoping that North Carolina was going to go down just because they were only up by one. And I'm
Me
just waiting.
too.
It's not that I hate North Carolina. I just want to see a
I
one
do.
go down. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you're a Duke guy, so that's fair.
Yeah.
But I want to see a one lose to a 16. We all do. Let's just be honest.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And it's gonna happen.
Pretty much with Duke playing today, they had a little bit of a scare playing Yale. Final score ended up being 71-64. I think fans that don't really watch college basketball kind of got to look at Brandon Ingram today. Ingram to me looked a little bit. I would say he looked aggressive in trying to score, but his moves did not look NBA ready to me. Now the criticisms come out with Ben Simmons being the number one pick. Would teams still pick him? The question to me is Brandon Ingram's body, number one, having that lanky build like Antetokounmpo from Milwaukee, is his body NBA ready? And then number two, will his moves translate to the NBA? Because at least with Jabari Parker, he was able to kind of play down low, kind of beast his way through, and he had muscle and strength. And with Brandon Ingram, I just don't know how that body holds up there. I'll be curious to see. I still think that Ben Simmons goes number one. What do you think?
Dang, I'll say this. The first game they played, I thought Ben Simmons was fantastic. And he'll have his ups and downs being a freshman, but what we have to look at is, let's see, I think Ingram had 18 the first game. What did he finish with today? 17, 18 again.
23, I think.
23. So 18 the first game, 23 the second game. So that would be, 41 more points than Ben Simmons has right now.
Yeah, that's true. True.
And everybody questions Ben Simmons' motor, and his just like going through the motions. And even I want to say it was Fran Fraschilla was on First Take with, of course, Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless. And he was saying he actually thinks Ingram has moved into number one. Because he said one thing: the NBA it's a scorer's league.
Yeah.
You have to be able to make shots. He said Ben Simmons can't make shots right now. Brandon Ingram can make shots. He has a good touch from the outside, like you mentioned in our pre-show. Real good touch around the basket, down low. He's long, very similar body type to Kevin Durant and the Greek freak Antetokounmpo in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So, and he's a better shooter than Antetokounmpo. Much better touch on his outside shot. Better form, too. But I think he's going to be good. I think it's just going to depend on who gets number one. Because obviously I think Ben Simmons will put more butts in the seats. So if you're LA, LA is going to take Simmons if they get number one. If it's Philly, man, that's tough. And you're you're the Sixers guy. Like, I would go with Ingram, but I don't know.
I'd rather have Ingram because we already have enough. We need scores. We don't need.
Yeah.
I mean, hell, if you're looking for somebody that can just pass and not really give you a lot of scoring, you can just keep Ish Smith and run him at the point because with Brandon Ingram, he's actually scored 45 points in the first two rounds. Looks like he had 25 today, so he scored 2 more points. I must have missed it. And then he had 20 in the first game.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's basically, to me, it's against lower tier teams. No offense to either one of those. I want to see how he does against, if Oregon gets there or St. Joseph's, whichever team, to kind of see what effort he puts up. But basically, with Duke, it's been the Grayson Allen show.
Mm-hmm.
As we talked in the pre-show, Grayson Allen is catapulting his way up to top 15 pick, as you said.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's a premium for scoring in the league, of course, and he's got it. Now, whether he trips players up in the NBA, I don't know, but
and he's really athletic too. He's got a good motor. He's fast. He can jump. He shoots the ball really well.
Right now, he is basically in the highest pick he could be is 19, and his floor is 27.
Yeah.
So,
He's
I think
go.
he could
He's going to get hot.
legitimately
He's
get
going
up
to
to
go.
that
Yeah.
15.
Oh, yeah. I think he will. I think he'll be because he's only a sophomore. So and the
Right.
NBA loves young guys.
No, we didn't touch on this in the pre-show, but with Michigan State going down so fast,
Mm-hmm.
basically Denzel Valentine, who many people, including myself, have kind of been enamored with this season.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see his stock kind of falling out of mid-lottery on down into the 20s, or you see him kind of staying where he is?
My guess is he might not go lottery just because they lost, but I still see him going between 15 and 18 just because he has a very similar skill set to Draymond Green. He shoots it better. He can pass the basketball. He's good on defense. So, and NBA teams are seeing with how valuable Draymond Green is. And people who say his skill set won't translate to any team, I'm referring to Draymond Green on this. They're crazy. Draymond Green could play and be effective on any NBA team with his skill set. It has nothing. It's not the product of the system. He can play basketball, so I think that's the one thing that's going to help Denzel Valentine. But Valentine shoots the ball better.
Yeah.
And there's a premium on shooters in the NBA. Everybody wants to be able to make, and he can pass. I mean, I think he had 10 assists in the game they lost.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think he could still, if he really wows in the workouts and at the combine, I think, he could jump into the lottery. But the one thing that's probably going against him more than anything, he's a senior. And they kind of hesitate on seniors. Same thing with Buddy Hield. I could see him dropping.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're basically at the point of the, Sweet 16 now, going into the Elite Eight, and or going into the Sweet 16, then the Elite Eight, then the Final Four, and then the championship. Based on kind of who is favored, of course, is going to be Kentucky being the number 1 seed. You got Oregon as a 1 seed, UNC as a 1 seed, and Virginia as the 1 seed. Any kind of upset? I know you mentioned North Carolina. I could actually see Virginia going down to Butler.
Yeah, I could see it. I had Michigan State beating Virginia in the regional final.
So did
but
I.
I could see it, man. But that may be a region where because Michigan State's out, and Michigan State had knocked out Virginia the last 2 years, the previous 2 tournaments, and they're not there. So if you're Virginia, you're really confident right now. I think Virginia gets to the Final Four. And then in the one conference, Kentucky's a 4. Kentucky's 4. Carolina's 1 in that region.
Kansas, I meant. Sorry, Kansas is what I was thinking
Kentucky,
of. Not Kentucky.
I think Kentucky's going to take North Carolina out. That's who I have beaten them.
Yeah.
Kansas, let's see. What region is Kansas in? Because I don't have Kansas in the final.
I got Kansas. Kansas would play Connecticut. 7:45 tonight.
Is Maryland in that? Is Maryland in that bracket?
Yeah, Maryland and Hawaii are at 17.
I got Maryland beating Kansas.
Oh wow! Upset.
That's my pick. Maryland over Kansas, and then I got Miami beating. I think Miami's in that bracket too. Is that the one they're in?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because I got Miami and I got Miami beating Maryland, getting to the Final Four.
I guess my only real big upset pick that's left is Gonzaga. I had them beating Utah. They play tonight at 8:40, so I had that. And then I have them losing to Syracuse. The next round. So
Syracuse is making a deep run.
Yeah, which is surprising to me. I thought they would have. They had a chance to get bounced by Dayton in the first round, but Dayton just came out flat. So, I love tournament time, obviously, because I'm a huge basketball fan and I'm a big time draft kind of analysis guy. So, I like to pick apart kind of people's games as they're facing higher levels of competition. But no real hype this year because Ben Simmons is out so fast. Mm-hmm. So, and then Dragon Bender is overseas. So it's going to be interesting come draft time how those picks unfold. Hopefully we don't end up with another Anthony Bennett type surprise first round pick if Simmons was to go separate or something. But I think it's either Ingram or Simmons, either way. So,
absolutely, they're definitely going 1, 2 in any order.
yeah. Well, rolling into the NBA action, Thursday night we had a little scuffle between teams. Matt Barnes decided to play fake thug again and go after John Henson of the Milwaukee Bucks. And basically, kind of for those who don't know what happened, basically the fourth quarter, the game got kind of testy. Henson came up behind Lance Stevenson, who just grabbed a rebound. Henson swiped the ball away, but in the process, he knocked Lance Stevenson to the floor. Basically, John Henson got called for the flagrant one and a technical. Barnes came down and basically, tried to go for a layup. John Henson blocked it and then turned and mean mugged Matt Barnes. Well, the referees quickly got in the way. Basically, after a review, John Henson was slapped with a double technical and ejected. He threw his jersey off, all that stuff in the crowd. And then next thing you know, you see Matt Barnes kind of talking, and then he just goes sprinting. He literally does a middle school sandbox twist and turn to get away from the disciplinarian, and starts sprinting off the court and goes after John Henson. And the reports come out later that he tried to get into the locker room, fight him. Basically that incident cost Matt Barnes $32,000 in a 1-game suspension. So that puts him over $100,000 that he's lost this year in fines. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think John Henson would have been able to take Matt Barnes, and do you think Matt Barnes just stirs up controversy just to stay in the spotlight, or what do you think it is?
Man, I'm convinced, that Matt Barnes is just fucking crazy. He's a Cali dude, so he's from the Cali area, so he's. I don't think he's. I don't want to call him a fake tough guy because but he does it all the time. But it's every time he does something, nobody ever backs down. So maybe he really is because remember he tried to act like he's gonna throw the ball at Kobe a few years back. Kobe just they're what? But Kobe did want Matt Barnes on his basketball team because he is a tough guy. So maybe there's something to it that Kobe just nothing gets to Kobe, even though he did get a 2-piece from Chris Childs back in the day. Yeah. I had to throw that in there. But I don't know. That. I actually don't think Matt Barnes is fronting or anything. I think he's just crazy. I think the dude has a few screws loose upstairs.
Yeah. Because to me, he's always trying to stay relevant.
Yeah, he goes after Derek Fisher. Maybe he has some legitimate reasons because him and Derek. He thought Derek Fisher was his boy, and then the minute and then now Derek Fisher is with Matt Barnes' ex. So, I don't know. Matt Barnes has some problems, though.
Well, for me, it's bad enough that, he's the way he is, and then his girlfriend's on, the Basketball Wives with Drummond there. So I think Drummond just surrounds that whole environment.
Absolutely.
But there's nothing that John Henson could have done other than basically stand up and for himself, because there's nothing worse than, a player that won't stand up. Blake Griffin basically got the Powder Puff Award, for a few years to where he wouldn't go back at somebody. And he finally got, I think, last season to where he was kind of bucking up to people and actually showing that, he could stand up for himself.
Yeah.
So, speaking of kind of tough guys, I guess you could say that Kurt Rambis, the interim head coach of the New York Knicks, has taken a tough guy approach with your boy Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, man, it's terrible.
Basically, he's taken him from a semi-wing player to being able to utilize his speed, kind of savvy, herky-jerky post moves, to basically you're going to play down low. If you don't play defense and grab rebounds, you ain't playing. And he's trying to hide behind the fact that Phil Jackson said that Porzingis hit the rookie wall and is having a tough time basically hit a mental block What do you think it is?
There's just so much dysfunction within that organization. You know, like I want to touch on Phil Jackson real quick because I like Phil Jackson. I do. While maybe he's not the greatest X's and O's coach, he still is the best manager of egos we've ever seen in the NBA as a coach. So you have to give him that. Not everybody could have won with those Bulls and Lakers teams. But it's like he wants to coach that team, but he doesn't want to coach the team. You know what I mean? Like he wants to coach them without the responsibilities. And I think a lot of this might be coming from Phil. But then there was the talk, as we mentioned, that, and me and you actually like this, and I know a lot of guys do not like it, but I think you can throw Kristaps Porzingis at the 3, depending on the matchup. What's the assistant's name in San Antonio? He coached him in the rookie game, and I'm not trying to say
Messina.
Yeah, he even wanted to, he was using Porzingis at the 3. Let the guy, he's a shooter. He's not a post player right now. He's just not strong enough to go down there. The guy has a beautiful touch from the outside. Let him shoot his threes. That's what he's a stretch 4 right now, and he can play the 5 because he's 7'3". But I think a lot of the things, like I'm noticing with the games I've watched, he's going more with Lopez. He's taking Porzingis out and he's going with Lopez.
Right.
He's not having both of them in there at the same time a lot. And he's decided to go with Lopez, which makes no damn sense to me because you're not going to the playoffs. And what you want to – are we going to build around Robin Lopez now? Let's build. Let's get Jerry Grant some minutes. Let's get Porzingis the minutes. Run, Carmelo's going to do what Carmelo does, and he's good for Porzingis because he opens up a lot for him. But go ahead.
No, I was going to say, if you remember, Kurt Rambis' first stint with the Minnesota Timberwolves, he ruined Kevin Love's career, basically. I mean,
yes.
So, I mean, to me, if you're looking at it, I responded to a tweet that it was the guys on Sirius XM Radio that tweeted out about basically Porzingis' season being ruined. Like all the promise, is he going to go into the summertime, basically worse off than what he came in last summer because Kurt Rambis doesn't want him to play for the Latvia national team. He wants him to stay there.
Yeah.
Well, basically, somebody, from the New York Post tweeted that Rambis says Porzingis better off not playing for the Latvia in the Olympics. Justin Termini of Sirius Radio said, well, he's also probably not better off for playing for the Knicks in the NBA. Or better off not playing for the Knicks, I should say. And basically the other part of that I read was that Kurt Rambis and Phil Jackson would co-coach games, which Carmelo Anthony basically quickly said not happening, not on his watch. But we all know that Carmelo has got the no trade clause. So what do they do there? For me, I saw enough flashes with Ettore Messina. Make him the coach. Once you get a new up-and-comer, scrap the triangle. Mm-hmm. Just get an up-and-comer. Phil Jackson, move on. Go back to the Lakers with your wife, and you can run that team into the ground. Don't run the Knicks into the ground. But we'll see what happens with Phil Jackson, Carmelo. There's a lot of stuff kind of going there. The Knicks have some free agents, with Derek Williams and some other pieces there. I think they'll kind of go through the summer of having to decide, are they going to go for some big names and actually land them this year, or is it going to be another, offseason to where Melo basically is disappointed and has to roll with what he has?
Because you get Lopez and Aflalo.
Yeah, I mean, you missed out on Greg Monroe, which that's probably not all that bad at this point.
That was a blessing in disguise.
Yeah, considering his terrible turnstile defense. But, we'll see what happens, going there. So, basically sticking with the Eastern Conference, I wanted to roll into your Chicago Bulls and let you kind of sound off about your boy Doug McDermott.
That's right, Dougie McBuckets. I like what we're, let me start off by saying this team is definitely there's some problems in Chicago. It's not all, peaches and cream, everything. No, there's definite problems. But the one bright side that's come out of this season is the emergence of Doug McDermott. Because, just since I'll go back, Stacey King mentioned it too. Not just the last 7, 8, but since the All-Star break. Doug McDermott has been fantastic. They're running plays for him. He's not just standing in the corner. He's aggressive. He's playing, the defense is improving. He's driving to the basket. He's dunking on people. You're seeing the full repertoire of Doug McDermott. And I think no longer do the Bulls have a weakness at small forward. Doug McDermott is the guy. But they just have problems all around, mostly due to injuries too. Because you got Rose, he's coming back. Jimmy's back now. Etuan Moore goes down. Pau Gasol's down. He's not playing tonight. They have just got to get healthy.
Josh Gibson's back and forth, injured now.
Yeah, another one. Yeah, I hope they get that 7 seed, because if they match up with Toronto, that's the matchup to. Now, I think you and I both agree, of all the first round matchups for the Cavs and the Raptors, they don't want to see Chicago.
Right.
They don't want the Bulls. Could they? Will they? Obviously the Raptors or the Cavs would be favorites, but they don't want the Bulls, and the Bulls can absolutely take them out in the first round if healthy.
I would actually like the Bulls to get 7th, because they match up better with Toronto Raptors, I think, than they do the Cleveland Cavs. You have the Pacers, let them drop down to 8th, let them fight it out, give them a dogfight, the Cavaliers a dogfight, and wear them down as they go through. The playoffs are going to be interesting. We could roll right into that. Basically, for the Eastern Conference, you've got the Indiana Pacers, the Chicago Bulls, Detroit Pistons, and Washington Wizards all right there for the 7th and 8th seed. I kind of think it's going to just flip-flop. It's going to go Bulls 7th, Pacers 8th. And, the Wizards are going to be basically the 10th team, with the Pistons narrowly missing the playoffs. But anything can happen. What do you think?
Absolutely. Oh, man, I think so. I think, like we mentioned in the pre-show, I think it all just comes down to schedule, and what the team, the Pacers, they've got, is it tonight I think it's tonight or tomorrow. They've got the Thunder. I think it's tonight. So even at home, my guess is the Thunder will probably take that game. So, then they got, Detroit at home has Brooklyn coming up. So it's just going to depend on matchups. The Bulls got 3 more on this homestand. And even after this homestand, they play a home and home with New York Wednesday and Thursday. They should take the next 4 games. If they can take the next 4 games, I think the Bulls are in. The Pacers will they're going to have a struggle. I think it'll come down for that 8th seed. Man, I think it'll come down to I'll say Indiana and Detroit, because I like Washington, but Paul George, I think that gives the Pacers the advantage. As great as John Wall is playing, because that guy's killing people right now, but I don't think he just has enough help. Bradley Beal's always hurt, which and
he's on the minute restriction too. So
exactly, and that's why I think that hurts Washington. You just don't know what you're going to get out of Bradley.
Not enough big men down low. The trade for Markieff didn't work out. So man. We got some activity in the chat room. We've got my man Orlando Till and Julian Lamenzo 94. They're always the regulars. Thanks for sticking with us, guys. Like I said, a little under the weather yesterday, so unfortunately we had to reschedule. Kind of had a different show planned yesterday, but we're going to roll it into next week and kind of hit some of those topics then with some guests on the panel. Dre Watson, thanks for coming out, man. I appreciate you. I think this is the first time you've been in the chat, but pretty much the activity in the chat, they're saying that the Bulls are the main dark horse to take out a seed. And then the Bulls also have to get things together ASAP to at least get the 7th seed. So I think both of those are valid. They've got to stay as injury-free as they can from this point forward, get Pau Gasol back, obviously. Each one more, of course, they need him.
Yes.
If anything happens to Rose, and I think he's also a better option over Tony Snell.
And you know what? Actually, I like Etuan when healthy. I like Etuan at the point and Holiday at the 2.
Yeah,
over
I
Snell.
like Holiday. Holiday's a little hidden gem.
Absolutely.
He dominated the summer league for the Golden State Warriors. Kind of got his contract from there, and basically that was last season. And then over the course of last season, he kind of played sparingly. Got on the Atlanta Hawks. Kind of had a little bit of a run in the rotation earlier in the year, but then Tim Hardaway Jr. came back healthy, and from there, basically, Justin Holiday lost his spot. So, the bloodline runs strong in the family with Drew and Justin. I think they have a little brother too.
Yeah, and all the Bulls had to do was give up Kirk Heinrich for him.
Yeah, which is an upgrade anyway.
I know all my fellow Bulls fans love Kirk for what he's done for the ball club. Big shout out to Kirk Heinrich because he was fantastic. But he's just old now. He can't do it anymore. But Holiday, it's pretty sad. And I think Tony Snell is your classic change of scenery guy because Justin Holiday comes in. He plays, 6-7 games, and he's already ahead of the rotation than Tony Snell.
Yeah.
And Tony Snell, he's a fantastic defender, but I think he struggled on that end even just because his confidence on the offensive end is just – it's shot. It's terrible.
That's the thing is his confidence.
Wide open 3. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I often wonder about his basketball IQ. He just doesn't seem to make the right basketball plays, and he's lost. I don't think he fully gets that Hoiberg system. And I think some team will take a chance on him because he's young. He can defend. He's 6'7". He's long, athletic. He can shoot the basketball, even though his confidence has taken a hit. He can shoot it. I mean. The first couple months, he was shooting about 42% from 3, so he can shoot it. So we'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens there. I think someone will take a chance on Tony.
Yeah, I think it's all going to come down to, like you said before, strength of schedule as far as getting to the playoffs. And then of course where you're seated makes a big difference.
Matchups.
So
it's all about matchups.
And that brings me into the Western Conference.
Yes.
Unfortunately, our guy Lance Roberson is working a double this evening, so we're going to kind of keep the combo on the Dallas Mavericks a little bit light until we can get him back on here next week to kind of give us some full analysis. But basically, the Mavericks took a little bit of a tumble this week. They're down to the 8th seed in the Western Conference. They're basically a half game over the Utah Jazz right now. So, Meek, the race for 6th, 7th, 8th, and then the 9th seed, the Utah Jazz, is going to be interesting.
Yeah, they're all within. Yeah, they're all within one. They're all within one loss of each other, and it is. It's going to be exciting. And once again, just like I said, I think it comes down to schedule. And I believe the Mavericks do have one more in Golden State, so you could probably put a loss there.
Yeah.
Utah's in Chicago tonight. I think they'll lose that one. Oh, goddamn the Rockets. Sorry.
Oh,
I don't know about, the Rockets. You just don't know with those guys. And
because they're fraudulent. That's the most fraudulent team shot out in the hour.
Well, yeah, but I do got to say, beautiful pickup of Michael Beasley. He's been fantastic for them. He's really playing well.
Every year that he comes in and he does well coming back from overseas.
Michael Beasley is playing with a new confidence about him. And you know what I like about Bickerstaff? He's letting Beasley play his game on the offensive end of the floor.
Yeah. He's
just letting him be Michael Beasley. And we all know he can score. The guy is a very talented scorer. He can put points on the board quick. And that was a really nice pickup for them. So, but, man, you just don't know with those guys. Because one game, we've seen it all this year. They'll go out one game and look like a top 5 team, and in the next game they'll go out and lose to a team like the Sixers. Sorry, Pete. But they'll go out and lose. Yeah, they'll go out and lose to the Sixers. Yeah. You just don't know. But I think Portland will get in. Their backcourt is super talented with Damian Lillard and C.J. McCollum. I think they'll get in. So I think Portland's in. Houston, I think, gets in, and man, I think it just comes down to schedule between Utah and Dallas. And I like what Dallas is doing, moving Dirk to the 5. He's really been playing well since they moved him to the 5. I think said I think his per 36 average is like 25 a game since they moved him to the 5. So that's helped. And you could see it last night when they played Golden State. Bogut did not want to step out and guard him. Dirk was open all the time. And a lot of these 5s, they don't want to step out to the three-point line. And Dirk's getting a lot of open looks, which we know he can knock down. So I think that was a nice move because I don't know what's gotten into Z-Patch. He's like damn near out of the rotation now.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
I think they may be saving them if they do make the playoffs, but they kind of have to utilize them now. They want to stick to the playoff race.
Mm-hmm. I'm just, Z-Patch was damn near an all-star for him. And his numbers were good. Yeah, he was a double-double
more
machine.
More votes than DeMarcus Cousins.
That's right. That's right. The people wanted Z-Patch in the all-star game. I don't know, man. I'm sure they'll – but David Lee, I think that's what's hurting because David Lee has been great. And this is why, I know Zara's had the talk. We've heard Charles Barkley, the analytics talk. And I was watching the Golden State broadcast of the game last night, and they were mentioning about analytics. David Lee in the first half had 12 points and 10 rebounds in about 9 minutes. He was great. Yep. He was doing his job. He played the good defense. He was minus 12. Then you have Sean Livingston, who did nothing. He was like a plus 3.
Yeah.
So that's why, and they were mentioning that's why sometimes I think, to all the analytics guys, there's a place for it. I absolutely agree. But they don't tell the whole story. I think the eye test is the biggest thing.
The eye test is most important to me.
It's absolutely. Because you watch that game, like David Lee, it makes David Lee look really bad. Like, he was on the floor and his team did nothing. But he was great. Then right. Sean Livingston does nothing and he's a plus 3. So I think sometimes these stats, these analytics can lie.
Yeah. I think going – it's hard to predict the playoffs because of strength of schedule, but I think that the Rockets I'm just going to go ahead and say the Rockets are my pick to drop out. I don't think it's going to probably come to fruition, but that's kind of what I'm hoping for. I don't want to see them get bounced in 4 games by Golden State. If I'm going to watch the playoffs, I would rather see James Harden sulk at home and comb his beard and give the Jazz a chance. Give Favors, Hayward, Rudy Gobert, give those guys experience in the playoffs and let them get a little taste and kind of progress for next year. I just don't want to see James Harden and Michael Beasley fighting shot for the ball and that'd be the offense. And then Dwight Howard crying that basically his team got bounced in 4 games. Just go ahead and go home. Suck up that you've been fraudulent all season, going back to the last 3 seasons. I think Portland, they're going to stay in the 6th seed. So basically Portland would play Oklahoma City. And I actually think that's a decent matchup, the way that Oklahoma City's kind of, not been able to win the kind of lesser game, so to speak. They just don't show up, and they let teams like the Timberwolves beat them. So we'll see come, playoff time how those matchups, or closer to playoff time, how those matchups come. But, I always take every chance I can to go in on the fraudulent Rockets. So,
hey, we typically touch on them it's almost a weekly thing. For me, and a shout out to all my people in Houston. I love Houston, even though I'm in Illinois now, but man, some of those Rockets fans just have, I get it, you love your team, but damn it, be a realistic fan.
Right.
Your team is not the best. Your team is not the best team in the NBA. They weren't last year. They overachieved last year. I would say they are underachieving this year. I think we can agree on that. They're not a one team. This is a team who they should be a 44-45 win team with that roster. and they're looking at. I think they should be with as weak as the West is this year.
I'd say they're about 40 win team right now. I wouldn't put them at 45 because the Clippers only have 43 wins.
They're going to win 50. Well, yeah, but the West, obviously San Antonio and Golden State, could segue into another topic. But San Antonio and Golden State have won so many games that it is hurting some of the records of teams like Oklahoma City and the Clippers. But the Rockets, they're not. They should be at least 4 or 5 games above 500. Because if you look outside of really the top 4 teams, Memphis sucks. They were just fortunate enough to build enough.
Decimated right now.
Yeah, but they are. That's why I say they suck. But they were fortunate enough to build a good enough cushion, 10, 11 above 500 when everybody went down.
Right.
That they pretty much they got their 5th spot locked up. And they'll just go out in the first round in 5 games to the Clippers. But
you're going to have Lance Stevenson against the team that traded him, basically the Clippers. So does Lance kind of lead them to a win or two? Obviously, they're not going to win the series, but
they'll get it. I think they'll get a game against the Clippers. Lance Stevenson, maybe he'll blow in Blake Griffin's ear or something. I don't know. Untie his shoes. We'll see.
Yeah,
I think it'll be pretty exciting. It'll be pretty exciting series, for a couple games will be good, but it'll be a 4-1 Clippers win. I think it could sweep them, just because there's just no. Is Connolly going to be healthy? Connolly's good enough where he can lead them to a win. But
Blake Griffin will be back soon, so we'll see how the offense rolls with them. I still think they're better off with J.J. Redick kind of starting out the game, getting them a couple buckets. Getting in the flow of the offense. I wonder if that changes, kind of when Blake comes back, just to get Blake rolling early.
I don't think so, because they had success last year. JJ, since he's gotten there, that's the guy they try to get going early. And I think it's smart with the way they play. They don't really have a dominant post presence as good as Blake Griffin and DeAndre. They're not dominant post players. So when JJ gets going from the outside, it opens everything up. Now Chris Paul can do his thing off the dribble. He can get the lobs to DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin can get to the rim because now you're focused in on J.J. Redick all the time. So, and that's why I've always said J.J. Redick is the most important player on that offense. Not the best player on the team. He's the most important, though.
Right.
Obviously, we know Blake Griffin's not the most important because we see what they did when he went out. And I don't want to go as far to say that they're better without Blake Griffin because they obviously need him because of his talent. But J.J. Redick's the most important player on the team. He makes everything work, a lot like Ray Allen did in Boston.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and he runs the exact same sets for J.J. that Doc ran for Ray Allen in Boston.
That's true.
Yeah, a lot of pin downs.
Oh yeah, coming off of pin downs and just different things. That's where J.J. Redick has really thrived because early in his career he was just a spot up shooter, obviously, and fought through injuries and stuff. But just his focus to the game now, you can just see the maturity level as each year has progressed. So, all right, well, rolling into our big topic of the night, we've got Golden State Warriors and San Antonio Spurs at 8:30 Eastern on ABC. It's the prime time matchup. Basically, the storyline is, of course, the San Antonio Spurs in their last 10 are 9-1. They've won 5 straight. Golden State Warriors are 9-1 in their last 10 and won 7 straight. Now, Golden State has not won in San Antonio since I believe it's like 1997.
It's been 19 years.
So it's going to be interesting. Before we roll into too much analysis on it, who do you predict that's going to win tonight?
I'm going Golden State by 7. And I know I picked San Antonio to win the first matchup, but I'm going with Golden State by 7. I think they want to send a message, and as if they obviously have been playing with a chip on their shoulder all season, especially Steph Curry. Oh,
Right.
he's the MVP. He's got it. They're going to rough him up this year. Okay, now he's not. He's just only having one of the greatest single seasons we've ever seen in the history of the league. He's embarrassing the NBA. But San Antonio's undefeated at home. They want to beat these guys. Not only have they not won in 19 years, and Curry was mentioning it, he knows they haven't won in 19 years, and they're undefeated. They have the longest active single season, I think, win streak at home in the history of the league. That's going to motivate Golden State. But one thing that might hurt, they got some injuries. I don't know if is Iguodala out and Bogut.
Bogut's out.
That's going to hurt. That's going to hurt.
Yeah, I have to see if Iguodala's out.
Yeah, Bogut's going to hurt.
It's basically the Warriors lead the league in fast break points at basically 21 a game. But they're running into the league's best defense at basically 95.7 points a game per 100 possessions.
Who they did slaughter in the first matchup, though. They slaughtered that greatest defense.
I mean, we'll have to see what happens. I've got the Spurs actually with the upset by 4 points.
Upset at home.
Because everybody's picking the Warriors to do a repeat. So I'm going to just play devil's advocate and say Spurs by 4. So I think Bogut not being there as a rim protector is going to make a difference. Basically, that means you have to slot in Mo Buckets and Andy Bergeau with a little bit of James Michael McAdoo. That ain't going to get it done against Tim Duncan, LaMarcus Aldridge. And even Boban can get down there and get a little bit of points in the post. David West. So you got a plethora of big men that can, basically put to use.
Question for you, Pete. Who starts? Are they going to go with McAdoo as the starter? I think they may go with McAdoo because that's who they started out with in the second half against Dallas. I think
you have to. You can't put Bergeau out there. He ain't going to last.
Yeah, he just doesn't have. He can.
And Mo Buckets can't guard.
No, but here's the thing: they got to guard. But in his defense, though, they got to guard him all the way out to the 3-point line. He'll cause some problems.
Yeah,
Duncan doesn't want to guard guys.
No, on offense he'd be fine, but defense he's not going to be able to.
Oh no! But it's going to be interesting. That makes it with probably no Iggy and no Bogut. That really makes things interesting, and it's fair because in defense of the Spurs, they did not have Timmy in the first matchup, which I don't think they would have won if they had him, but it would not have been a massacre.
Right.
They lost the anchor to their defense. Kawhi Leonard is the best defender on the team, but the anchor of that defense is Tim Duncan.
Right.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting. It'll be an interesting game, but I'm going Golden State by 7. I just think, and you saw it last night, just Curry and Thompson. I mean, they're hitting all these threes. Then you
Thompson
got,
39.
Oh, yeah, Curry had 31. I mean, if they're going to go out and hit, they hit 15 threes by themselves last game. If they hit 10 threes, in San Antonio, I actually agree with this with Skip Bayless. He said San Antonio they don't shoot a lot of threes this year, but they're the best 2-point shooting team in the league, mid-range jumpers and stuff. That's not going to be enough to beat Golden State if they're hitting threes.
Right.
If the threes are falling for Golden State and they hit 12, 13, 14 threes, it's going to be a lot to overcome for the Spurs. And the pace. The Spurs, just that age catches up to them with that pace. And you saw it in the first game because the pace was so fast. Tony Parker was making uncharacteristic turnovers. Ginobili, David West, those guys are making uncharacteristic turnovers. They don't want to play at that fast pace.
Yeah. I think it's going to come down to matchups, basically. Aldridge is going to have a field day down low if he's on his game because there's not really a lot of internal, defenders basically there. But on the other side of it, the Spurs aren't going to, like you said, be able to stop the Splash Brothers. No matter what they do, their focus is going to be, can they shut down Harrison Barnes? Can they shut down Draymond Green? Because that's basically your next 2 scoring options. And what do you do about Sean Livingston down low? Because if Livingston gets some points in the post and you have a guy like Mo Buckets, Mo Spates come coming in, and even if he gives you 10, 12 points, I mean, that makes up for, kind of basically the differential between Bogut kind of being in there, the points differential that they give up. So it'll be interesting, but I still think the Spurs kind of get a little sneaky and get that 4-point win there. But I'll definitely be watching. So I'll be kind of flipping back and forth between the college games and that game, but mostly watching the Warriors and Spurs. So
that's even though it's NCAA. This is the Spurs Warriors is the game of the night. Period. NCAA or NBA. It's must see TV. Anytime Stephen Curry is on national TV, it's must see TV.
Oh yeah.
That guy. You saw the shot he hit. Did you see the shot he hit last night at the buzzer of the first quarter?
No, I didn't.
He just comes out, gets a steal, dribble down, just cash money 3 pull up.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it wasn't deep enough.
Not that surprises me now.
No, I mean, that guy. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he could pull up from the damn other end of the court underneath the rim and pull up for a jump shot and make it, and I wouldn't be surprised.
No, this guy's just making. He's embarrassing. We've all, a lot of us old school guys have seen the. We watched the Michael Jordan's Playground video. And there's a segment in there where they're talking to Chuck Daly at the time, head coach of the Bad Boys, the Pistons, and he said, this guy Michael Jordan, he's just embarrassing the NBA like no other. That's what Curry's doing right now. He's literally embarrassing the league. It's not fair, and you have no answer. This guy pulls up. The minute he crosses half court, he's in range. How do you guard that?
And the thing that gets me is, like, even if you triple teamed him, everybody on there except for Bogut can shoot threes. Basically, Bogut and Varejao would be your only two that. Yeah. And probably Ezeli. Maybe I think Ezeli could actually hit maybe the corner.
Yeah. And Bogut hit a three about a week ago on a bailout.
So, I mean, you have to play up on everybody. So it's just like, even if you look down the bench and you look at like Ian Clark or Brandon Rush, all of those guys are shooters and can go off at any time.
Barbosa can hit an open three.
Yeah, I mean, so it's like that. I don't see any way to dethrone them as the NBA champions if basically the Western Conference Finals is going to be the finals to me, I think.
Mm-hmm. Call me crazy, but I think of all the teams in the West, I think Cleveland matches up better with Golden State than any team in the West does. Call me crazy, but I don't think Cleveland's going to win. And I know my best friend, he always keeps telling me, LeBron's going to get it done this year. They're going to beat Golden State. I keep telling him, no. And a lot of people have said, and I've mentioned it on here before, everybody says, well, Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving were out last year, and it took, the Warriors 6 games. LeBron almost did it by himself. If Kyrie Irving plays, Stephen Curry goes off even more. He can't guard a chair.
No, right. And Kevin Love basically, the rumor was that he was sick, but Ty Lue figured out, hey, I don't have to play him.
Yeah, because you got Channing Frye. Yeah, because you can play Channing Frye, who shoots the ball better. He doesn't rebound as good. He's a better defender and a better shooter. He just doesn't rebound as well. They need to trade Kevin Love. Bring back Andrew Wiggins.
I see Kevin Love. Maybe he should have just took that train ride to Chicago or to Boston, and I mean that would have been better.
If you're the Cavs, you're almost better in a straight up trade because you get money back with the Kelly Olynyk for freaking Kevin Love.
I was just about to say that. Put Kelly Olynyk
at the 4.
Give me another another prospect there. Give me somebody that is a guard. So you don't give up RJ Hunter, but I'll take James Young. Let him see what he can do there.
Absolutely.
Young legs.
Marcus Smart.
That's not for Kevin Love. You're not going to get Marcus Smart for Kevin Love. Now you'll get Kelly Olynyk because they have an abundance of big men there. But
and Danny
I don't
Ainge
know how
really
much outside of that.
Yeah, Danny Ainge really wants Kevin Love. I think you could get a good deal from the stuff because Danny Ainge wants him.
Yeah.
And
Dre Watson saying Kevin Love should have never gotten Tristan Thompson's cash, though.
no. Heck no, he shouldn't have.
I think they overpaid for both guys. I wouldn't have paid Tristan Thompson that much because, Tristan Thompson can't score on the offensive end. I mean, yeah, he's a good defender and can rebound, of course, but just not that much for – I mean, you're basically cash strapped at that point.
But is that a good deal? If you can trade Kevin Love and unload that contract, you bring in Olenek, something like that. Does now with the increased salary cap, does that Tristan Thompson deal kind of become a bargain? Tristan Thompson is because he's essentially a lesser DeAndre Jordan to an extent.
Right.
Just not. Is Tristan getting max money or he's pretty close to it?
I think he's close to it.
Yeah. So maybe with the salary, you unload Kevin Love and that salary, you get some good players in return. Maybe now the Tristan Thompson deal is not so bad with the increase of the salary cap, because Tristan Thompson does have value. And actually, if you bring in Olenek, you can put Thompson at the 4 and let Olenek play the 5.
Yeah.
I guess depending on matchups.
I just wonder if Kevin Love, if he gets traded, will he go back to being more of a down low, kind of going for rebounds, or is he just going to stick out on the perimeter as a 3-point shooter again? Because I don't think any system he goes to with that mindset, he's going to be successful. He needs to get back down low, play close to the basket. He can stretch out if he needs to the 3-point line, but that doesn't have to be his end-all be-all at the 3-point line. Because if he's shooting, 36% or whatever from 3, I mean, that's not going to scare a lot of teams into, basically letting you stand out there or, guarding you out there. They're going to let you stand out there.
Yeah. So. Well, I mean, Kevin Love can hit open. I think he just shoots too many threes. He was so much more effective when he was going down low as a majority of the time and then stretching the floor, because he is a very good shooter. But I think he just takes too many, and he takes bad shots from out there. And I think that's why – and teams know what's coming already. It's going to be a steady dose of – if Kevin – all you got to do is put a body on him out there, just face guard him. Because it's not like the Cleveland Cavs are using him down low. So you just face guard him. Let him take contested threes. And
he's shooting 35%. So that's
Did Kevin Love win the 3-point? He won the 3-point shootout, didn't he?
I don't recall him winning that.
It was 2012, I believe he won it. He won the in the shortened season. He won the 3. Yeah, he did. He did. Because the next year he was hurt. He didn't defend it until 2 years later because he was hurt after he won. So yeah, he did.
Yeah,
so he can shoot the 3, but he just
2012.
He just shoots too many. He takes bad shots. He settles for it too much. And I'm surprised Tyronn Lue has not used him more in the post.
That's the thing. Like, why wouldn't you play him, basically it's like you could kind of play him if you needed to, even in the mid-range. I mean, that's to me better than – because he can basically kind of bully his way to getting down low rather than just every chance you're stepping out for a 3. And it's like, why are you banking on that being your first and second option before you go to the post?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if he's lost his touch down there or what happened, but we'll see. Cavaliers will be there come Eastern Conference semis. It's just, who are they going to go up against, and how hard are they going to have to battle to get to the finals?
I don't think it's a guarantee that they make it to the second round. And I only say that because of my Chicago Bulls, if they're healthy.
Uh-oh.
When they match up 1-8. Yeah. Remember I told you that's my upset.
Shoe collector pitching a fit. He's probably
that's all right. That's all right.
He's got the shakes right now.
That's all right. We all love shoe collector. But I'm going – that's my upset pick. If they get the 7th seed, I'm going with the Bulls. Bulls are getting out of the first round. If they get in the playoffs, they are getting out of the first round.
Uh-oh.
I'm calling it. They're getting out of the first round.
All right.
Bulls in the conference. Bulls are going to conference finals. I'm going Bulls Cavs in the conference final. That's what the people want. Give it to us. A healthy Bulls and a healthy Cav team in the conference finals. That's
If they
what we
make
want.
it to the 7th seed.
Yeah, then
Okay,
I think
because I can see the Bulls
finals.
beating Toronto. I don't see the Bulls beating the Cavs though.
Even if healthy,
Even if healthy, I don't know. It's going to be hard.
because they have both games this year when they were healthy. The Bulls gave it to them.
But
The
you got to
one
give it
game
to
the
them
Bulls lost.
for 4 out of 7. I mean, that's hard.
Yeah,
and then
that's
you got to
true.
say
They
Derrick Rose
should do.
got.
They should have won it last year. If Powell doesn't go down, the Bulls are in the finals. Because remember, the Bulls are up 2-1. Pau Gasol gets hurt. He's healthy. That's a Bulls series win, and the Bulls. Although, yeah, I think they would have beat the Hawks. The Hawks are another fraudulent team.
Yeah.
Sorry,
the
Pete.
Hawks.
I know you're in Atlanta. I know you're in Atlanta.
I just go to the Hawks games because that's what's here. So trust me, I'm worse off. I'm worse off. I'm a Sixers fan, so that's worse than being a Hawks fan. So
yeah.
I mean, the Hawks are back up to third in the Eastern Conference, but I can see the Charlotte Hornets sneaking into the third spot.
Yeah, man.
That's going to be a hell of a matchup if Charlotte plays Boston.
What everybody's talking about Terry Stotts Coach of the Year. What about my guy in Charlotte?
Shoot.
Yeah, I know. I can't think.
Steve Clifford.
Clifford. Yeah, Clifford. Yeah. He's Coach of the Year. This guy's been without Al Jefferson all year. MKG's played like 5 games. And when he went down the second time, when MKG went down, I thought they were done. No, they're like 10 games above 500 right now. Steve Clifford should be Coach of the Year to me. Well, really, I should be Luke Walton, but we won't go there.
But Clifford, it's a 3-way basically race between, to me, Stotts, Stevens, and
Clifford.
Yeah, I mean, because everybody's going to say, well, Steve Kerr should get it because look at the Warriors' record. But, I mean, the surprise, nobody had Portland in there.
And nobody had
Charlotte that high.
Exactly.
And, so.
Yeah. Now, the only thing I'll say about Charlotte is they were a disappointment last year because the year before they really made a lot and they got into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So maybe they're not as big a surprise as we think they are, but they're third right now. Nobody saw them as a third team at this point in the season, third in the East. So I think it's got to be Steve Clifford, and the East is stronger. So I think that gives the edge.
Because there's only a half game separating them from right now. They're in 5th. There's a half game separating them between the Hawks and the Hornets, and really a whole game from the Hawks and the Celtics at 6. Yeah. So basically 3 through 6 is going to kind of switch around a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. The seeds are going to be interesting in the East. Those top, 6 seeds, because the 3 through 6 could all be interesting. A team who's third now may finish 6th at the end of the year.
Right.
If you're 6th now, you may be third at the end. It's going to be this is what it's all about, though. It's a good thing we've got some excitement. In the West, there's really no. I mean, we know what's going to happen out there, barring injuries. Barring injuries, Golden State's going to the NBA Finals. Sorry, Spurs fans. Sorry, OKC fans. Books Nelson, I'm sorry. And your boy Russell Westbrook, I got to say it. He makes dumb decisions down the stretch.
Oh man!
I know they. All right,
and maybe they brought back the quiet hangout last week.
Yeah.
They might come out blazing. They might come out blazing for you next week.
Yeah, Books is going to be gunning for me.
Uh-oh.
I love Russell Westbrook. He's one of the best 4 players in the league. But when it comes down, and it's not all his fault because I blame it on KD as well. It's a heavy dose of Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant down the stretch, and they don't pass it to their teammates. They don't trust them. There's a reason Anthony Morrow is having his worst shooting season since he's come into the league. He didn't just all of a sudden forget how to shoot the ball.
Right.
He doesn't know when he's going to get it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2-man team, definitely. And I have never been a fan. Obviously, Russell Westbrook's exciting, and he dominates. I've just never been a fan of a bully score first point guard that doesn't even. I mean, you don't play within the team concept. Kevin Durant can be blamed for a good bit of it too, but we all know Kevin Durant's been a scorer for how long?
Yeah, but he's not a selfish guy.
Right.
And I'll say this: with Westbrook, the one thing I'll say, he averaged, what is he, second in the league in assists, damn near 11 assists a game, and it makes him look really unselfish. But look how his assists, he just bowls his way to the basket. He gets triple teamed, he just kicks it out.
Right, and to me, that's not. It's basically false advertising. To me, it's a false. Exactly. Kind of look at the stats, because you got guys that. I mean, look at the history of basketball. John Stockton, Jason Kidd, guys that were pass first that are hitting those numbers. And he's just bullying his way through two defenders and drops it off to Enes Kanter for a dunk. I mean, it's there's some solid plays in there, but when you're looking at it as you bully in and then you get trapped in the corner, you just throw it to a guy. I mean, that's not bad. That's not legit.
No, he's looking to score every time he touches the ball, and if he gets doubled or tripled, then he passes. He's passing because he can't score. Like Stephen Curry averages about 6 assists a game. Russell Westbrook's close to 11. Stephen Curry's much more unselfish than Westbrook is.
Right.
I don't think anybody would argue that. Yeah. But the stats
the 2K ratings say so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when are we going to get Curry at a 99?
It's going to be hard. I mean, basically, I hope, Czar, if you and OG check this, podcast out, get that patch rolling in to where the badge will show up for Curry so he can pull up from 35. And I just curious to see what it looks like in the game. So if it's real life, but I mean, it's crazy. How he's kind of broken an entire video game off of an NBA season. Didn't never think that would happen, but much respect to the 2K guys. Of course, they're all friends of ours, so the thing about it is that you can work night and day, and still something else breaks in the game to make something else work. So we know it's a hard, tedious amount of work, but we hope to see that badge kick out, just because I think it would add so much excitement rolling into 2K17, and it would bring 2K16 back alive for some people, and probably piss a lot of people online off. But because and I'm a Golden State Warrior user online, but I play the right way. I play sim with them. I don't cheese and just shoot threes the whole game with everybody. I don't do that. I don't use the BS turbo and score a bucket after the other team scores. I don't use that crap. Yeah, I try to spread the ball around, and actually I kind of utilize different teams. Everybody kind of has their team they play with. I'm somebody that when I play online, I want to try a game out with the Minnesota Timberwolves and see if I can pull off some luck. Now, it hasn't happened, but
You know what, though? Okay. Because you're not cheesing. If you use cheese, you can win with them, because they have all those guys who are really fast and can get to the basket. That's a very popular team I've played against, because they'll use Wiggins and Levine and just turbo their way to the cup.
Yeah, see, I play Sim, so I can't. I run plays, and I get.
But when you play, exactly. They're hard to use when you play Sim.
And I actually try to roll the offense through Karl Anthony Towns and actually use post moves with Gorgie Jang, and nobody online does that. But that's what you get for being Sim all day. Not. So, as Scott OG used to say, my Sim hangs low. So, so to speak. So,
I got to tell this story because I played a couple of games today before we came on, and I told you this. I was playing this guy. The first game I played against a guy using the Houston Rockets. Yes, I had the Warriors. I jump on it 10-0, quick, dominating with guys like Andrew Bogut. So he goes immediately into a full court press, and some of the cheap animations. Now all of a sudden I'm turning the ball over. Next thing you know, I'm down 15 to 14 after being up 10-0. But of course I settled it down, but this dude literally full court pressed me the entire game. Tried to double Curry. I think I had 7 points with Curry.
Yeah.
I had 2 layups and an open 3. I was killing him with Bogut, Barnes, and I want to say it was Verajao, just getting dunks because he was playing
Okay.
full court. If you're going to full court press me the whole game, I'm going to mess you up because I'm not going to try to turbo down the court. I'm going to beat you with the pass.
Yeah, kick it to the man that's open.
Yeah, and that's what killed me a couple times because, with the animations, they'll jump in and get the crazy steal. That got me a couple times. That's how he got back into it. But and all he did was he tried to turbo down the court every time and get dunks and layups with Hardwood. Or if the transition D was slow, he'd pull up for a 3. But it didn't work. That's the one thing I'm noticing the most with people. Online, when you play online, they love the fast break turbo after a made bucket. That seems to be the number one cheese that I've noticed.
They'll actually remedy that because I have read that they said they see some of the cheese that's kind of developed this year, although most of it, I think if not all of it from last year is gone. So they did a good job of that. It's just, with everything, you always want something to be its best, and we're rooting for our guys that are there, working on the game day to day. But the one thing I just beg and ask is please overhaul the tendencies this year. Even if you don't do a complete 100% overhaul it, a good bit. Fix those tendencies and update them when you update the attributes. In the roster updates. You don't have to do them as often, but like maybe once a month, do a sweep through of guys saying, okay, well, this has changed. They're scoring more or they're scoring less. They might, be working in the post more and they shoot threes. Those things should change. And I think they'll get to those. I just hope that is for 2K17. So, guys, if you're watching, please look into that. One last thing. We didn't talk about this, but I actually had it on my notes from earlier in the week, and I actually forgot that I had made a little notes section earlier in the week. But I read an article that kind of brought back Kwame Brown's upbringing. We all remember the famous Kwame Brown.
Yes.
And they revisited the 2001 draft, and there were some interesting things in there that Kwame Brown basically. The article kind of touched on Billy Donovan and just kind of his leadership when he coached with Florida. But Kwame Brown called him about 3 days before announcing his decision to forego going to Florida and picking the NBA, and he said, "I don't think I can do this. I'm not ready for it. But I've got to help my family." And Billy Donovan basically said, this is the chance that you're going to kind of get to, be the number one pick. You can do it. And lo and behold, he gets picked. We all know the story. He didn't do too well in Washington and kind of flamed out from there. But the interesting tidbits I got throughout it was his high school coach said that if you get good grades, which Kwame Brown was very intelligent in the classroom, if you get good grades, you can drive my Buick, whatever it was. And so he's rolling around town in Savannah, Georgia in a Buick. Across the country, Tyson Chandler's got a pimped out Escalade. And he's the basically number 2 prospect in the country for Dominguez High School in California. Tyson Chandler goes in a one-on-one matchup against Kwame Brown. Tyson Chandler gets destroyed in the matchup against Kwame Brown. Eddie Curry from Chicago comes into the matchup against Tyson Chandler, dominates Chandler, and then goes against Kwame Brown. Kwame Brown destroys Eddie Curry. Just beats him off the dribble, beats him down low with post moves, you name it. And it was just interesting because a reporter asked Billy Donovan, well, if you could do it all over, what would be your advice to Kwame Brown? And he actually said, I'd still tell him to go to the NBA over picking Florida. I thought that was interesting.
Absolutely. That shows a lot about Billy Donovan's character. But if I were Billy Donovan, I would say the same thing because you want to tell these kids, especially with the ability to go to the NBA out of high school, you got to cash that lottery ticket because you never know what's going to happen. You could get hurt. I mean, look And it's worked out for Nerlens Noel, but think about it. Imagine Nerlens Noel can come out of high school, he probably goes into the NBA. Freshman year at Kentucky, what happens? He tears his ACL.
Yeah.
So you never know. So you got to cash that lottery ticket when it's there. And these guys have won the lottery, the genetic lottery. You got to cash that ticket. So I don't have a problem, and that's why I like Calipari, because he always tells his guys, basically, you're right, go to the NBA. And that's why I think he gets the best players every year overall, because they know if I'm a McDonald's All-American, and I think the stat now is if you're a McDonald's All-American, you have a 95% shot to go to the NBA. So if you're a McDonald's All-American and you go to Kentucky, there's pretty much a 100% chance you will be in the NBA. You got to take it. I think they need to do when the collective bargaining, and I know they're going to come up with a new agreement this summer, and I don't think there will be a lockout. The NBA would be stupid. I think they'll come up, but I think they need to do what baseball does. You get the opportunity. You can come out of high school, but if you go to college, you got to do 3 years. You can go to the NBA out of high school, but if you choose college, you got to do 3 years.
That's actually pretty good. I like that. Or 2 years. I would say 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, 2. Because in baseball it's 3, so yeah, 2. You give the university 2 years, or you can go to the NBA. And with most of these teams, and I think they'll be able to attain that goal once every NBA team has a D League team. Because I think that's big.
Yeah.
And now the Bulls, we know they got
soon.
because the Bulls just got theirs. They got the Windy City Bulls opening up next year in Hoffman Estates. That's big, because now it doesn't have to be like baseball where you got all these farm clubs. But in the NBA, because there's only 450 active players, every team has a D League team. And then they talked about adding a round to the draft, which I like, a 3rd round, which I think if every team has a D League affiliate, then you can do that. And guys can come out of high school. So if they're not ready to play against a grown man, you throw them in the D League. Let them develop for a year. Call them up towards the end of the season, see what they can do. I think that would be a good thing. Adam Silver definitely has to look into it. I'm sure he is, because he seems like he's on top of things. I really like what Adam Silver's doing, except for those stupid advertisement on the jerseys. No.
Oh yeah, I don't like that either.
No.
But going back to Billy Donovan, I do want to touch on, he did try to pull the best out of Kwame Brown. Basically, he saw Kwame Brown in a workout, and he told him, Kwame, there's no way. If you're serious now, you bypass Florida, you're serious about the NBA, you've got to get in a lot better shape. You've got to push yourself more. And some of the comments he made was, number one, about the contract. He said, look, who at 20 years old would be making $19 million? And he said, if this is really about your family and you're trying to help, I understand your decision. I'd love for you to come to Gainesville and play for the University of Florida, but I understand. But he said that basically Kwame from day one had reservations on how people would perceive him. He didn't think he was ready. Scouts were saying that he had hands of gold, that he could basically dunk on people. And we all know that turned out to hands of stone and, into the bench play. So it didn't really work out there. I always was partial to the 2001 draft because of, the baby Bulls and Tyson Chandler and Eddie Curry. I always wondered if they did not have Tim Floyd as a bonehead coach and then turn around and bring in Bill Cartwright to run the triangle with that team that should have been run and gun, would their careers end up different? Tyson Chandler would have been a power forward, small forward combo, and he was supposed to be looked at as basically another stretch shooter there, and that, of course, that didn't ever turn out. But Eddie Curry took a while to develop and only had a couple good years. So I just wonder what would happen.
Yeah, man. Hey, you know what? I actually thought Eddie Curry, because I want to say it was his last year with the Bulls. He dominated.
Yeah, he had the heart condition.
Yeah, he was really good. So, I don't think the fit, like at the time when they were drafted, it made sense, because it wasn't a perimeter-oriented league where threes were being shot a lot. It was, it was a defensive-minded San Antonio Spurs league at the time with just defense. not a lot of emphasis was put on the 3-point shot then. So I think that's what the Bulls were going for with Curry and Tyson Chandler. Tyson Chandler, they I'm sure they looked at him even then as a guy who's going to be great on the defensive end. And yeah. But Eddie Curry, I mean, he wasn't going to be a shooter or anything like that, but they looked at him as a guy who could dominate on the block. It just that draft ended up. I mean, and piggybacking on Michael Jordan, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the other guy he was looking at was Rodney White.
Yeah.
So imagine if
actually there was two, because Eddie Griffin was the other one.
Yeah, I think Eddie Griffin actually would have fit in with that Washington team.
I think so too.
I don't think that would have been. Yeah, he could play. He just had the emotional problems, and rest in peace, Eddie Griffin. But he was super. He was the most talented player in that class, even more so than Powell. Eddie Griffin could have been a star, but he just had the emotional and the mental problems, which with these guys, if you've got these, go get the help you need, because we saw how it ended for Eddie Curry. I mean, the guy, you don't want that to happen to anybody.
I mean, he had a marginal season with the Heat. He won a championship technically, but he didn't play. Basically, his heart, he had some issues. Basically, he didn't want to take the test. The Bulls offered him $400,000 annually. I think it was like for 30 years or something like that. And if he would just take the test, if it came back to where he couldn't play, that's what they would have given him. And I'm like, he just didn't have the mental. He played in his hometown. He played at Thornwood High School. He didn't have the mental ability to not give in to his friends and family and everybody that was tugging on him. That's hard. Tyson Chandler kind of had to switch positions, go from a small forward in high school to be a post player in the NBA. Pau Gasol got passed on because the Bulls were told not to look at him, which ironically, that's where he is now. Jason Richardson and Shane Battier, of course, decent, picks there. Eddie Griffin, unfortunately, passed away and his head wasn't screwed on. Sagana Diop, he flopped. Rodney White flopped. Then you had Joe Johnson, and then Kedrick Brown and Vladimir Radmanovich flopped. I mean, that was
Kedrick Brown. Kedrick Brown. He was the junior college kid, right?
Yeah, out of Okaloosa Walton. Yeah. I remember that, and I was like, I didn't even know when I was doing, because even back then, I was in high school, but I was like kind of into the draft and all that. I was like, who in the hell picked him at 11? Because I had him like mid-20s to second round, and I'm like, they reached, and they definitely did. But then you had guys like Stephen Hunter and Kirk Haston, Michael Bradley. I mean, that draft was just not one of the stronger drafts.
Here's the one we're missing, though. Gilbert Arenas.
Yeah, and Tony Parker would have been. Yeah. I mean, those were your two shining lights, and Mehmet Okur, basically.
And there's one more. I know you know it. Zach Randolph.
Zach Randolph? Yeah, I was going to say, that's the only other one I could think of.
Yeah, I think he went 18.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, he went 18.
Yeah, because he went before Brendan Haywood.
Yeah.
But that draft also had Jamal Tinsley, who wasn't too bad.
He was you know what? He was great that first year.
Yeah,
Tinsley
he could pass.
He was borderline rookie of the year.
Yeah. So, but the worst draft of all time to me is the 2000 draft. Before that, so.
Oh God.
No matter,
was that kid? Was 2000? Was that Kenyon Martin?
Yes.
The best player out of that draft. I gotta say, even though he's got rings, Mike Miller was not the best player in that draft. It was Kenyon Martin.
Yeah. Stromal Swift, Darius Miles, Marcus Fizer.
When was Michael Redd?
I think he was that draft.
Then Michael Redd's the best player from that draft.
Yes.
He was
second round, 43rd pick.
Yeah, Michael Redd is the best player from that draft.
You know what got me and how I knew it was the worst NBA draft? You had Khalid El-Amin, which played in Chicago. You had him in the rookie-sophomore game. Like, 6 games after the All-Star break, he got cut from the Chicago Bulls. And I was like, how in the hell do you have a player that wasn't even going to be on the roster in the damn – you couldn't even come up with players that were good enough?
Yeah.
Like,
the only, like, in all honesty, from that draft, I think Kenyon Martin was good. He was a good NBA player. Obviously, Michael Redd was an all-star, and then Mike Miller. Were those the only 3 guys were even worth talking about from that draft?
I mean, Jamal Crawford.
Yeah, was Crawford 2000 or was he 99?
2000. He's the 8th pick.
Okay.
And you could say Turkoglu because he had a decent career. Q Richardson, decent career.
Yeah.
Outside of that, not really much else because, Jamal McGlure somehow made an All-Star game. Mateen Cleaves, this is long before. He came off of winning for Michigan State, but he flamed out in the NBA. Courtney Alexander, who I actually thought at the time should have been a higher pick, he flamed out because he couldn't stay healthy.
What about there was another good one from Michigan State, the lefty, the shooter.
Oh, Mo Pete.
Peterson. Maurice Peterson. Yeah, he had a good NBA career. Not great.
Yeah,
he had a good NBA career. He was decent.
Eddie House was in the 2nd round. That was about it. The rest of the guys in the 2nd round either didn't get picked up by teams or they didn't do much. Brian Cardinal was kind of the garbage man.
Yeah. Was Ginobili 99 or 2000?
Ginobili was 99.
Okay. Yeah.
Marco Jaric had a kind of a cup of coffee a few times in the NBA.
He was decent.
Yeah. Deshaun Stevenson this is after he got
he was the high school player. And our guy Darius Miles, who could have been good because remember he finally figured it out about his 7th year. He was averaging about 21 a game, but then he got hurt.
With Portland, and then he tore his knee up.
Yeah, he figured it out. Darius Miles could have been a really good player. All the skills were there, but his biggest problem, God, he was an idiot.
Yeah, Stromae Swift was worse though, because he got picked one pick ahead, and he was not good either.
Yeah. Oh man, what a dumb pick. That was Memphis who picked him, right?
Vancouver then. Julian Lamento saying the 2013 draft is pretty bad too. So let me fast forward myself here.
2013. Let's see, that's Oladipo, obviously Anthony Bennett, who's not in the league.
Yeah.
Oladipo, man, shoot. Close. It's pretty close because you got Oladipo, you got Nerlens Noel, good players.
Yeah, Bennett got picked first. That's the worst pick ever.
Oladipo went 2.
Yeah. Nogueira is in there. He hasn't done much. It's solid, though. Because you got McCollum at 10. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope.
Hey, here's the thing. DJ McCollum would have been the number 1 pick in that 2000 draft.
Yeah, he would have. Some of the guys that flamed out, of course, McLemore has struggled. Trey Burke struggled. Carter Williams. Nogueira, Karis Sev, those are just, and Tony Snell was top 20. So, but there's some gems in there because you got Rudy Gobert, Allen Crabbe,
McCollum, Oladipo.
Yeah, McCollum, Archie Goodwin's in there. He's been decent. Now, a guy I thought that was going to do pretty well that hasn't done anything in the NBA is Reggie Bullock.
Yeah.
He's had chances too.
Yeah. Was Olenek in that draft?
Yeah, he was 13.
Yeah, that's another one. Olenek, good player.
Alex Len's come on, pretty decent. So I wouldn't say it's a horrible draft. You do have Isaiah Cannon in there.
Otto Porter.
Otto Porter was in there,
and he's been good.
That
was a better draft.
Second round, though. The second round, you don't have to guarantee contracts. So
you know what? That draft, there's a lot more decent players than that 2000 draft.
Joffrey Laverne was there, 55. Raul Neto got picked in that draft, 47th. Isaiah Cannon getting picked, we ain't counting that.
Yeah, Cannon. Hey, man, he's been giving you all some cannonballs.
Yeah.
He's had a
Some
couple
guys
good
that
games.
flamed out, though. Every draft, there's 2 or 3 guys that really flame out, though. But obviously, none worse than Anthony Bennett. And then probably McLemore would be second because of being picked 7.
Man, oh, God, Anthony Bennett. What a worst number 1 pick of all time.
Yeah, that's definitely.
Saying it. I'm calling it. Worst number 1 pick of all time.
Yeah.
That dude's a bum. And you notice he got released and no one's picking him up. Nobody wants to take a chance on him. He's young. He's still young. This would be his 3rd year, and no one wants to take a chance on him.
Even the analysts were shocked on live TV. I mean, that's got to tell you something. So.
Yeah. I think when they picked him, and my guess, and I could be totally out there with this, when Cleveland drafted him, they were thinking they had the next Larry Johnson.
Maybe, but.
Because their game was very similar.
Now, see, I would say if I had to say next worst draft, I'd say the 06 draft was worse than the 2013 draft because.
Really?
I mean, you got to look at it, though, because. Aldridge was there. That was it.
Reddick.
And Brandon Roy. I mean.
Reddick, Aldridge, Rondo, Paul Millsap, Kyle Lowry. That was actually a really good draft when you go back and think about it.
But see, I'm looking at the in-between of, okay, you got Hilton Armstrong, Mohamed Sene, Patrick O'Brien, Sheldon Williams, Adam Morrison, Andre Bargnani, number 1, Tyrus Thomas, Alexei Petrov, Rodney Carney. I mean,
but look at
Ronaldo Bachman.
Look at the good players that came out of it, though. There are more good players in that 2013 draft, like obviously Aldridge, obviously Millsap, Rondo was an all-star. That's
I guess you could say overall.
Yeah,
just the quality of the draft itself.
Yeah. That's a draft that at the time. Now Brandon Roy's another one who was great, but he got unfortunately hurt.
I really wish he would have been able to stay healthy because
Yeah,
I actually really liked him.
Yeah, at the top of my head, that draft has had at least 5 because Rondo was an all-star, Roy was an all-star, Aldridge, Millsap.
I guess you're right there.
Kyle Lowry, that's 5.
Well, if we're counting all-stars, then yeah.
Yeah.
I just meant quality depth of the draft.
Yeah. Oh shoot, man. I think I'd still go 06. Shoot, I think 06 may have been stronger than 05. Because look at 05 as far as like. Really, when you look at the 05 draft, the only 2 that really, truly stick out are Chris Paul and Darren Williams.
Yeah.
Like, when you think 05, nobody thinks Bogut. Nobody thinks Marvin Williams. I'd take 06 over 05. As far as,
I guess you're right. Oh, man. Good old Rashad McCants. I forgot about him.
That's right, from North Carolina.
Yeah, back-to-back, Sean May and Rashad McCants.
Yeah.
Julius Hodge, he was, decent college player, good college player, but sucked at the pros.
Yeah.
Decent overseas player.
Yeah.
Jared Jack sprinkled in there, David Lee. Salim Stoudemire flamed out.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel Hewing didn't do much.
Another 06. Actually, there's actually a couple in I'm thinking 05. 05 also had Monte Ellis.
Yeah. Man, I forgot about Raymond Felton and Martell Webster being 5 and 6. Well, I didn't remember them being that high.
Yeah. Andrew Bynum was in that draft. He flamed out. And then there was
Julian
another junior.
Lomenzo said that Anthony Bennett's the Jamarcus Russell of the NBA.
Oh, man, I totally agree.
I definitely agree with that one. When you can't even get onto a low-tier team, like even if you're Anthony Bennett and you go to the Phoenix Suns just to get minutes to resurrect your career, they signed Alan Williams from China over Anthony Bennett. I mean, that should tell you, Now, granted, not to knock Alan Williams because he had a hell of a season in China leading like 20 rebounds a game. But still, I mean, you can't tell me there's not something there, whether it's work ethic or something. Something behind the scenes has to be wrong with Anthony Bennett.
So, absolutely.
All right. Well, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I think we've covered everything. Next week, like I said, we're hoping to have some guests back on the panel, so we're not flying solo. I can't promise that I won't be sick, but I'm going to do my damnedest to stay healthy, so we can actually have the show on time.
Yeah. Everybody go see Batman versus Superman Thursday night for your evening
Meek,
show.
I know you're going to see it, so that's going to be one of our topics next week, and we're hoping Shoe Collector can come on and get Lance back on here, and hopefully have one or two other guests that we've been trying to get for a little while. See if we can have them come on and talk a little hoops and movies with us. So
that's right.
Until next time, everyone. Meek, you got anything you want to shout out before we go?
Not really.
No.
Good show.
No.
You know what? I want to shout out Czar bringing it back last night, getting everybody back on the train again. Big shout out to Czar and Big Mama.
Yeah, they hit us with the quiet storm, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it
was very
effective.
unexpected.
Everybody jumped on it. Everybody books and Brian Mazik and Czar, of course, great show as always. Big Mama, your production is second to none. So shout out to you guys and hope you get, from what you said, the shows are going to go through the NBA Finals. So I'm looking forward to those every week. And my shout out is just to the rest of Sim Nation, DJ Gonzo Star, Sam Pham, Jersey Made, all the Sim Nation guys. Of course, our co-host Lance and Shoe Collector and all the ones that can't be with us. We're hopefully you're here in spirit and get to catch the show. So until next time, this has been the Hardwood Hoops Hangout, and we'll see you next week.